Hi, I'm Reyna Noriega. I'm a visual artist, and welcome to my space. I would describe my art as joy personified. It's meant to be aspirational and inspirational. It's supposed to remind you of your best and most confident days. It's meant to represent all of our goodness and strength and power in the most positive ways. I am Cuban, and I think just caring for plants, I grew up seeing my abuela do that. She definitely had a green thumb. And of course, there is always going to be Palo Santo not too far away. That's something we bring from our culture. As a young kid, I didn't know how to name it as a ritual, but they're just traditions that you see that are normal. And then when you get kind of outside of your sphere, you realize, oh, that's not normal. But this is something I grew up with that brings me peace, being surrounded by nature. It's I knew that I needed sunlight. I knew that I needed to be able to see life happening and animals. Maybe it's the island in us, that we just need that. I would describe my workspace as bright, functional, and fun. Something that makes this studio really special is that I built it with my dad. My dad is and was also an artist. He understands the function that I need. He's he just 3D printed a rack for me to put paper and be able to spread it and not damage the desk, and just little thoughtful things that make it that much more special. I have 2 studio assistants. They are Ginger and Pepper. If they behave well and they are quiet, they are allowed to join in the creative process. I think what inspires me the most in this space are the empty canvases. They light a fire in me that I need to get to work, because the more canvases I fill up, the more space I can have in here. So starting my day in the studio, I'm usually coming from the kitchen with some matcha that I made at home. Turn on the music, so turn on my speaker, get some jazz or some just kind of calming music playing, and then I will light some candles or some incense. Something about having those flames in motion and the smoke in motion, it just does something to calm me and focus me, and sit down and get to work. I think if anyone were to step into this space, my space would tell them that I like organized chaos. So I am an artist that works with very strict schedules, strict bedtimes. Everything has to be where I need it to be before I start working. So I like to work from a clean slate. I require a lot of tools, so there's always gonna be a sense of mess, but I like to keep it as organized as possible. I prefer working in the day. I wake up pretty early, and I feel once the sun is out, it's part of my ritual to come in here, open the windows, let the light in. As the sun starts to go down, my energy starts to go down, I start to get sleepy, and I know that it's time to call it a day. I love color. I love artists that love color. I think I found a rug that I really liked with my favorite colors, and from there I looked at art pieces that I had collected that would fit in the room. There hasn't been a day that I've woken up and walked past this room that I could resist coming in and making something. So I feel that is a success. One thing in this space that I can't live without are my plethora of sketchbooks. As you can see, there are tons. This is a way that I work through an idea or a problem to get to where I want to be before moving to canvas. I keep my old portfolios and I keep old sketchbooks, so there are random days where I'll go through them and just see how much progress I've made in both my creativity and my skill, and times where I just couldn't see myself working the way that I work now. It's nice to remind myself of that version of me as I kind of aspire to be an even better artist, and that feels impossible. It's kind of important to have that time capsule of work and growth. In general, I think that when I look at things that I've made with my hands, I feel very proud, and just having those tangible creations that were once ideas just empowers me to keep doing that. As an artist, I think it's very important to have a flow between inspiration and discipline. I live my life in a disciplined way that makes way for like constant inspiration. So things like taking walks, things like having a certain amount of times that I need to be at the beach a month, just things that I know clear my mind while I'm working with this regimented schedule of like starting at 8, finishing it at 5. So it doesn't feel necessarily like a job, but there is that discipline that I'm building in safeguards to not really have to worry about artist block or burnout. And like, if I want to pull out paper and pen and get to work, there's space. There's not like different things that will like keep me from saying like, oh, I can work today. It's like, in order to work, I have to clean. I don't want to clean, so I'm not going to create today. I don't want this place to be like associated with stress. I want it to be associated with release. So I'm trying to be intentional about keeping those spaces separate. There's little things like in this back wall that are special, you know, a picture of my mom, my little sister, and I. These were created by my nieces and my nephew. Just like different mementos that at first glance, they might just look like stuff that are just like very, very important to me. When we talk about inspirational Latina artists, we always have to start with Frida Kahlo. Ana Mendieta is also one of my inspirations. As a Cuban, as someone who was just very experimental with the story she was telling, these are things that I'm really trying to hone in this different era of my work as I do a little bit more storytelling of my personal identity and history and traditions. I'm very grateful that I've seen what's possible for me. I think there was a time in my career where it just became too kind of like business focused. It's always filled me up to work closely with people, to do things that felt like I was giving back to people. So if the only thing you're getting from it is money, it starts to feel hollow and empty. And me personally, I started to lose like my will to create. So I had to kind of like take a break from that and just do like little things like paint and sifts and paint classes and just things that allowed me to like be in touch with people and hear their stories, and just kind of like the light in them like reignites the light in me. And I think that's like super important. I just finished working with Levi's. We made some patches for Inter Miami together. It was to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, my culture. For me, it's like all of the things that Miami reminds me of, like all of the reasons I feel at home in Miami are because of the nods to my culture. I'm also doing a project with Porsche. And of course, there's like my wines. That's now a recurring like yearly thing where I get to design new wine labels. Even being in those spaces means to someone like me, someone with my background, it's just kind of like opening up a world that many of us never knew was possible or would never have access to. So it's very special to be able to bring those things to life in this space. So everyone, thank you for joining me. Thank you for checking out my space. I hope you love it as much as I do.